After playing an active role in the murders of his gang rivals C-Miz and Culprit, Suspect and S-Wavy of Active Gang had fled to Kenya, and Suspect managed to go on the musical run of a lifetime, spending about 2 years and 4 months recording music, openly bragging about the murders he'd committed in gruesome detail, all the while evading and taunting the police who were desperately trying to solve this case. Meanwhile, prominent Active Gang member Armed Response, or AR, failed to get out of the country before the police could find him, ultimately getting convicted and sentenced to life in prison. By the time Suspect had been caught and extradited back to the UK, it seemed like AR had settled into his incarceration. He would go live seemingly from inside his cell on June the 4th, 2022, smiling as commenters bring up the deaths of C-Miz and Culprit. He was surrounded by goons bumping Youngboy's song Forgiato, where he claimed to have killed over 7 people.
Who's that? What's your name? What's your name?
AR from the AGB Act. I said I got C-Miz, you know, Culprit pack. Yeah, man.
Man, AR.
Aye, man.
Gxng. Show them AR, fam.
This was the fate that Suspect was potentially facing, and after his extradition in January, 6 months later, around the time of AR's live, Suspect would seemingly also get access to the internet, beginning to post to Twitter again in June and August of 2022, tweeting boastfully about how his ops still mention his name after the murders he committed, tweeting Free Double S in reference to himself and S-Wavy, who along with SY, who was still on the run in Somalia at this point, previously made up the deadly trio Triple S. Suspect would seemingly reflect on some of the clout-chasing slip-ups that landed him in jail, tweeting, "God forgive me for getting lost in the source," and social media blurring too many lines, as well as tweets indicating he feels like his life has been a movie, as well as another optimistic post suggesting that he believes he'll be free by 2023. Later, he would go on a series of tweets suggesting that he's having dark thoughts that he cannot say out loud or he'll be sectioned under the Mental Health Act, as well as bigging himself up, saying he's really that guy, just wait and see, perhaps another indication that he thought he might be able to beat these charges. Perhaps that explains his next tweet, appearing to suggest that he's not really a killer and that he's just a music performer, a villain character, with drill music being all entertainment. Going on to reach pretty hard with a statement saying how if an actor catches a case, they won't play his movie in court, but they're going to play Suspect's music. He was seemingly lacking the self-awareness to really see the difference between a trained actor playing a character in a narrative work of fiction and the confessional drill raps of a man who blatantly committed murder and then made songs detailing the gruesome and true details of that murder. Many pictures and videos of Suspect from behind bars would emerge while he awaited trial, like this video where he's seen as part of a crew throwing up Active Gang signs while somebody gets a beating in jail. Another picture of him would surface on broad day Snapchat with the caption "Free the Mastermind," and another iconic photo of him living good in his cell wearing a Versace bathrobe. He would even record multiple freestyles via prison phones which were uploaded online.
Fans love my lyricism. I told bro, be this that before your name, that's some constructive criticism. Mum said I never listened. Son, how you back in prison? I ain't have a father figure. Me and gang went different fishing. Always trust my intuition. Never make a split decision. Follow first, forgot the second. Furthest learn from your lessons. Alhamdulillah, count my blessings. Got a kind of ammunition. If you lose a bell, it's in the up. Cause we never missing. Most loved, most hated, most wanted, most rated. Thankful for the real and genuine, cause trust me, most fake it. From a place, if you slip, get your soul taken. I made more moves, more racks, and more pagans. Only time will tell, jail made me more patient. Eat my bar to my brothers, I'll be home soon. Until then, reminisce to my old tunes. 3 years, 3 blitz through my whole crew, gang.
Pretty face, I'm perfect from the waist down. I ain't trying to waste time. I heard through the grapevine. I'm the man behind the plan. I'm the man behind your bitch when you call her trying to FaceTime. Back shots, the booty clapping when she face down. Headshots, the gun clapping till he face down. Hands down, I'm one of the villains to touch your mic. Red dots, hands up, don't move or they take your life. Had to struggle and side screw and thinking wrong was right. So I had to fight. I went home a different guy. Money give me appetite. Lost the calamari bites. We don't catch feelings, we catch. Then we catching flights. Taxis, Tech 9, technique, bullseye. She a hoe just for me, that's a true lie. Girl trip, I know what these hoes do in Dubai. Boys trip, the steppers roll, looking for a new high. Numb to the pain, I'm surprised I'm still sane. Country on chain, I was SVR range. It was not nice, used to trap in the rain. Mom, there's no win in this game.
However, Peckwater member C2, who Suspect had previously mocked in a music video for working as a model, would post multiple times alluding to Suspect being jumped and beaten up in prison, saying that he's having a tough time in jail, and that there had been suspicious activity on D-Wing. Seemingly in response, Suspect would post mocking C2, posting a picture of him in a wig and saying that he likes to feel like a little lady, and congratulating him on trying to find himself and acting like a bad boy this year. C2, apparently in jail too during this time, would end up making his his own jailhouse freestyle, named after Suspect's hit song Caught in the Rain, dissing dead ops from Gxng. Despite the daily struggles of being the most wanted member of a prominent gang in jail, Suspect appeared to be optimistic while in prison, posting Instagram replies that he would be at Wireless Festival the next year and that he would even be home soon. In November, Suspect would freestyle for his fellow inmates as they gathered around and cheered him on.
No cap, got blowback, laughing at CF1 for a throwback. Know that chatter you want, but you can't get your bros back. Run them streets, got chinged up. Parts where his hair won't grow back. Felt my whole shank, hold that. Grew up toast that Joe Van Tank got feds like Siemens eyes, I don't wanna roll back. Bro said Mendig is done. I asked him, what does that mean? Bro, our shanks are covered in squeeze. And give it a clean.
It would be over a year that Suspect would wait in jail for his trial before the day would finally come. He and S-Wavy would file not guilty pleas in June 2022, and so the trial for the murder of Alex Smith, aka Culprit, would begin on the 27th of March 2023 at the Old Bailey, and pictures would emerge showing Suspect in the dock in court smiling. Judge Sarah Monroe KC was the judge on the case. She had gained national attention earlier in the year, making history being the first ever judge to hand down a sentence in a case that was televised live.
The sentence I pass upon you is therefore one of life imprisonment.
Initial reports on social media would circulate claiming that the pair would not be identified by their rap aliases, nor would their lyrics or music be used in court at all, as well as suggesting that the prosecution would mainly rely on cell site data to put Suspect at the scene, with other reports suggesting this wasn't accurate and that witnesses might not be able to identify Suspect. It would turn out that a lot of this social media reporting suggesting that the prosecution was struggling was complete cope. This same account also claimed that there was a man in the courtroom wearing a trap star puffer jacket and that he understood the culture and was going to get Suspect off. Now, it's unclear whether or not this was complete trolling or whether there was some truth to it, but due to these posts, many members of the UK drill subreddit and community were led to believe that Suspect had a much higher chance of freedom than he really did. On May the 10th, just days before the verdict, Suspect would be seen on social media FaceTiming his Kenyan wife Halima. Now, I wasn't able to find full court documents relating to the trial publicly, so it's unclear exactly what evidence was used against him, but some crime Twitter pages tweeted that a lot of interesting details came up during the trial. They used Suspect's many convictions as a youth offender, bringing up that he had a total of 18 convictions for 41 offences prior to the murder. They would also be told details about the ongoing gang war in Camden, which Suspect and Culprit had both been involved in. The court would also hear a victim impact statement from Culprit's mother, who said that she was haunted by the thought of her son being hunted by a pack of knife-wielding gangsters. However, Suspect's defence would emphasise that Suspect grew up in foster care and did not have intent to kill. The court would hear about how Suspect and S-Wavy fled the country after the murder and bragged about the murder in several songs, with Culprit's mother making direct references to lyrics from his freestyle, with it being reported that that song had been analysed in detail in court, with it likely that these lyrics about tripping up ops and stabbing them in the chest and leaving estates red-taped no doubt harmed his case dramatically. It's ironic that this freestyle that ended with him rapping about his op that didn't make it, and now that he's rapping about the murder he might make it, ended up sealing his fate. Other reports on social media that can't be verified suggested that numerous songs were played in court and that the judge was in disbelief when she heard them, specifically lyrics such as "Who is the culprit?" and "It's ironic that they suspect me." Before the verdict, Suspect would post a message to his YouTube channel showing crossed fingers and heart emojis, but unfortunately for Suspect, his luck would finally run out. In the end, on the 10th of May 2023, both Suspect and S-Wavy would be found guilty for the murder of Alex Smith, after which they refused to participate in proceedings, failing to attend the sentencing. So, 2 days later, the sentence would be handed down in their absence, with Suspect getting life with a minimum of 24 years, and S-Wavy receiving a minimum of 23 years. Apparently the judge even admonished Suspect and S-Wavy for making music celebrating the death of Culprit during the sentencing. Friends and affiliates would post reacting to this news, and later, reporting would suggest that neither Suspect or S-Wavy showed any remorse or explanation for their crimes throughout the trial, and footage of Suspect settling into life in prison with Triggy would circulate after the sentencing. And eventually, a picture would even surface showing Gxng's most prominent rappers, T-Scam and Suspect, both together in jail. Meanwhile, SY, who had still managed to evade justice in Somalia, would post to his Snapchat reacting to the news with heartbreak emojis and calling to free the innocent. Ultimately, Suspect's wild story had finally come to an end, and despite what any Gxng fans might say, finally justice had been delivered for Alex Smith, aka Culprit. And after spending 2 years and 4 months running free and mocking the death of this young man, now Suspect would have to face the next 24 years in a jail cell for what he had done on the 12th of August 2019.
men have been stabbed to death in two separate attacks in Kentish Town in North London last night. The body of the first victim, believed to be in his late teens, was found a couple of hours before police discovered the second victim, who's thought to be in his 20s. Investigating officers...
Local residents have said that they saw the mother of the teenager being comforted by the police. She was in an emotional state.
5 months was lost to son.
We want to reassure every Camden resident that the safety of our communities is our highest priority.
I beg you, people go to my children, say stop please.
We're talking to the family, and local residents on the estate say they're shocked and saddened to what's happened, but say this is a reality of living in this area.
And we are directing all of our attention and resources to keep you safe.
They are going to go out and kill any Somali in retaliation.
Basically, if you're Somali, and you're around Camden, get back inside.
Alex Smith was just 16 years old when he was fatally stabbed on August 12th, 2019 on the Regent's Park estate in Camden.
We do now seem to hear about people being shot dead, guns being fired in parts of North London.
That's all that matters.
St Aloysius Church, there is panic.
A shocking footage shows the moment the brawl exploded in front of horrified shoppers at the luxury London flagship store.
Whoever was in the car pulled out a shotgun and sprayed pellets into the crowd.
Our thoughts are, of course, with all those concerned.
Two murder fugitives who were arrested in Nairobi over the weekend have been extradited to face trial in the UK.
Brother Syed Abdul Hakim Mahmood was arrested in the early mornings yesterday around 7 a.m. It's been over 35 hours. We have no proof of life. We're just very, very concerned, and it's been very emotional.
My husband Tariq was taken at 6 in the morning yesterday. It's been a rough moment for us. We really need to see them.
Mohammed Abdi Hakim, 24, and Montero Mangle, 21, both British nationals, were arrested on Sunday in Kilimani. However, to many residents, the damage has been done. One individual stating, "How many innocent lives must be lost before our streets are kept safe?"
In the end, it was the very same brand of violent drill music that made Suspect famous that also brought about his downfall. Arguably, had he not gone on the run, making a name for himself as a drill rapper and making hundreds of thousands of pounds in the process, the end result likely would have been the same. He deserved punishment, not just for the murders that he'd committed, but for the pain that he had caused the victim's family by evading justice and boasting about the murders in front of millions of adoring drill fans. While you could argue that the drill fans that propped up Suspect and made him famous share some of the blame for that suffering, ultimately Suspect himself is just another symptom of a very sick music industry. In the modern age of gangster rap, the King Vons, Pooh Shiesties and Gucci Manes of the world have always gotten a lot of attention for the legal cases they were associated with. Whether it's killing rival gangsters, killing someone in self-defense, or shooting someone in a hot-headed argument, the modern rap game just can't help but lavish attention on those who have openly lived a life right on the boundaries of what the law allows or allows you to get away with. Suspect was one of the most extreme examples of when keeping it real goes wrong. Just like King Von, Suspect was praised for being what he really rapped about. He made murder music, and he had really done murders. In November 2021, just 2 months before he was caught, Suspect posted the following to social media, saying essentially, if you haven't done dirt in the street, you shouldn't be rapping. I think this comment truly sums up the problem with drill music these days. Once upon a time, in the days of Rick Ross, rap was all about just painting a picture of the criminal lifestyle and not necessarily living it. Fans would suspend their disbelief and sort of knew that rappers were rappers, even if the people around them might still have been involved in gangs or street activity. But since the rise of Chicago drill music, nowadays, the most compelling rappers are the ones who really do all the stuff they rap about. But in this mature rap game, where rap fans have essentially heard it all before, to stand apart, you really need to have more and more bold claims just to get attention. It took King Von claiming to have killed 7 people in his music for people to stand up and really pay attention, and that paid him handsomely. In the case of Suspect, he didn't even get serious about music until he had seemingly killed 2 people. But this idea that people who haven't killed anyone or got active in the streets being disqualified from rapping is just absurd. Suspect really lived what he rapped, and look where it got him. He fled to Kenya to escape his fate, but ultimately justice would come and find him even 6,000 miles away. While he was on the run, he indeed did demonstrate that he had a talent as a rapper and a writer. His wordplay and performing ability made him one of the most compelling rappers in UK drill history. But the way he sees it, if he didn't kill 2 people, nobody would have cared. Now, I think that's incredibly pessimistic. Maybe Suspect sees it that way, but I truly believe that with his talent, he could have been a successful rapper in UK drill without having to kill a single person. Maybe it would have taken him longer or required more time working on music than lurking in the streets. But to me, killing people and rapping about it isn't really the secret to success in drill music. It's only a shortcut to fame on social media. There's a reason why Culprit's song about the murder of Neds never went viral, because no disrespect, it wasn't a very good song. Whereas Suspect made great music, picked great beats, and painted a vivid picture of the dark and deadly life he was living on the streets of Camden. And I think he still could have done that without bringing death and destruction down onto his own community. Sadly, we will never know whether or not he would have succeeded without the horrible crimes. But an interesting contrast to the story of Suspect would be that of fellow active gang member 2 Smoky. Over the course of this beef, several members have actually rapped about their Islamic faith, often rapping about how they're bad Muslims, more interested in the violence and murder than practicing religion. 2 Smoky was one of these people, even rapping in the song Knock Down Ginger how he should have been practicing his deen, but instead he was on the op block spraying machines. Perhaps these lyrics meant more to him than they did to the other members who repeated it. 2 Smoky had had major success with his January the 24th, 2021 breakout track Corn, pretty much a love letter to shooting. But that song was taken down by police in their campaign against active gangs' violent lyrics. At a certain point, keen-eyed drill fans even noticed and were amused by the fact that 2 Smoky seemed genuinely upset in his lyrics that he hasn't managed to kill anyone yet. However, in the end, it would seem that 2 Smoky would actually end up having a revelation, changing his ways before it was too late. Because despite his earlier violent lyrics and close relationship to the streets, on July the 9th, a jailed 2 Smoky announces from behind bars on social media that he's quitting music completely, all for the sake of Allah, telling fans that he was planning to focus on his religion and encouraging them to delete his songs and not play them anymore. 2 Smoky would eventually even react to the guilty verdict that Suspect received with a heartbreak emoji and a caption essentially saying the outcome is God's will. Perhaps he saw the likes of AR getting life in jail and realized that he didn't want to go the same way. Ultimately, he chose to try and forge a different path, while Suspect and S-Wavy ended up following Sin and getting life in jail as a result. It's unclear whether or not 2 Smoky will be getting out of jail soon, but I think that this was an important story to highlight, because it's really never too late to turn your back on a life of violence and accept God or positivity into your heart. 2 Smoky would quit music to focus on religion whilst in prison, and continuing to post religious messages on social media, suggesting that at this point in his life, he was focused on finding peace. With even their top op Chinks from one side reacting to 2 Smoky's move to focus on religion and leave the streets behind, saying he respected it. Perhaps this doesn't work for everyone, but I feel like it's an important message to highlight. Suspect made good music, and his life was really something out of a movie, but it's nothing to be glorified. Gang life is truly a roll of the dice, and you could end up living a movie like Scarface if you're Suspect, or dying horrifically like in a horror film if you're Culprit or C-Miz. There really are no winners here. Suspect is now sat in jail for the majority of his life, leaving his son fatherless in Kenya, likely to grow up with many of the same or different problems that a young Suspect faced. The circumstances change, but the cycle continues, and Suspect is no longer living the glamorous life of a famous gangster on the run. He's stuck in jail, while Culprit's mother and many others continue to grieve their murdered children and friends, and ultimately no amount of jail time is going to heal that pain. It's a truly sad state of affairs, and something really needs to be done to make sure that there are less troubled teens like Suspect falling through the cracks of society, bringing pain and destruction to their communities. It's now looking more and more likely that the politician responsible for Camden, Keir Starmer, is going to be the next Prime Minister of the UK. Now, should the person who couldn't keep Camden under control really be running the whole country? But then again, can he really be held responsible? Camden's long history of gang tensions is a hard thing to fix, and with the rise of drill music essentially rewarding the most violent individuals with clout, fame, and riches for doing the worst things imaginable is only magnifying the problem. Ultimately, Suspect's life was a movie, and it's a tragedy. A young life taken, and another set to spend life in prison, all while many careers and young lives have been wasted, all for very little in return. Meanwhile, at the moment, Reeks and SY are still on the run, believed to be in Somalia, living their best life and not facing any justice for the part that they allegedly played in these murders. It's hard to say that true justice will ever be served on either side of the fence, but if there's one message that I want to leave you with, it's that if you are a young person growing up in a difficult environment, perhaps even being influenced by or idolizing a drill rapper like Suspect, just take a second to think about the consequences of your actions, because it only takes one night of hot-headed violence and bad decision making to end your life or another life permanently. Life is precious, and sometimes, in the heat of a moment of conflict, it's easy to lose sight of the blessings that you already have. I hope you learned something from this story, because I learned a lot from making it. And once again, rest in peace to everyone involved who lost their lives.